It started like any ordinary Saturday morning in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Birds chirped, sprinklers hissed across manicured lawns, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee drifted from open windows. But on one cul-de-sac, the calm was about to shatter. Because sometimes the people who smile at you in daylight are the very same ones sharpening their claws in the dark. Now, before I take you deeper into this story, let me tell you why you'll want to stick around until the very end. What begins as a petty neighborhood complaint soon spirals into a dramatic showdown that exposes hidden prejudice, unchecked arrogance, and one neighbor's shocking attempt to weaponize authority against an innocent woman. And when the truth comes out, it leaves everyone watching stunned. And if you enjoy stories where justice finds its way through the cracks, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next story that could leave you questioning everything about fairness, power, and dignity. It all began when a black woman named Maya Johnson moved into her new home. She was calm, confident, and proud. After all, this was the house she had worked years to earn. What most of her neighbors didn't know yet was that Maya wasn't just another newcomer. She was a decorated military officer who had served her country with honor. But for one neighbor, that fact wouldn't matter, at least not until it was far too late. Enter Linda, the self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association. She had lived on the block for over 20 years and made it her mission to vet every new resident. To her, Maya's arrival was an offense. A black woman in a nice house, driving a sleek SUV. Something about it didn't sit right with her, though she never admitted out loud what was really fueling her suspicions. The first confrontation came just days after Maya moved in. Linda strutted across the street, clipboard in hand, and demanded, "Do you even know the rules of this neighborhood? We don't tolerate renters or rule breakers here." Maya, holding a box of dishes, gave a polite smile. "This isn't a rental. I bought this house. I'm here to stay." But Linda's lips curled. "We'll see about that." That should have been the end, but it wasn't. Within a week, Linda was taking pictures of Maya's lawn, scribbling down notes about her car, even standing outside with binoculars as if Maya were some criminal to be surveilled. Neighbors began to whisper, some embarrassed by Linda's obsession, others secretly pleased she was keeping order. But no one expected just how far she would go next. One evening, as Maya carried groceries from her car, Linda snapped a photo and dialed 911. "Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious person in my neighborhood," she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "She's moving things into the house next door. I don't think she belongs here." Minutes later, flashing blue and red lights painted the quiet street. Maya froze, her bag slipping to the ground. A police cruiser screeched to a halt, and two officers stepped out, hands near their belts. "Ma'am," one of them said firmly, "we got a call about a possible trespasser. Can we see some identification?" Linda stood a few feet away, arms folded, watching with smug satisfaction. To her, this was the moment she had been waiting for. Proof, she thought, that Maya didn't belong. Maya's chest tightened. She had served tours overseas, had faced danger in hostile lands, but never expected to feel such suspicion on the street she now called home. Still, she steadied her voice. "Of course, officer," she said, reaching into her wallet. She pulled out her driver's license, but then she paused, locking eyes with Linda, who smirked as if victory was hers. That was when Maya made a choice. She reached deeper and pulled out a different card, a sleek official military ID. The officer's eyes widened. He took the card, scanned it carefully, and stiffened to attention. "Lieutenant Colonel Johnson?" he asked in disbelief. Maya nodded. "That's right. I served 15 years, just returned stateside. This is my home now." For a heartbeat, silence blanketed the street. The smirk on Linda's face dissolved, her confidence evaporating as the weight of her mistake became clear. The very woman she had tried to paint as an intruder was not only a homeowner, she was a decorated officer who had risked her life for the very freedoms Linda enjoyed. But the story didn't end there. Because while the officers exchanged respectful words with Maya, One of them quietly pulled Linda aside. Neighbors watched as her face turned pale, her arms crossing defensively. "I was just trying to protect the neighborhood," she stammered. The officer's reply cut through the night. "No, ma'am. You were profiling, and it ends now." You'd think that humiliation would have been enough. But Linda wasn't done. In the following days, she filed complaints with the HOA about Maya's car, her yard, even the flag she proudly displayed on her porch, the American flag she had fought under. Every attempt to tear her down only fueled the tension in the neighborhood. And behind every complaint was Linda, still burning with resentment that her power had been challenged. But here's the twist no one saw coming. At the next HOA meeting, when Linda tried to rally the group against Maya, the president interrupted her. "Actually," he said, glancing at Maya with a respectful nod, "we've done some checking of our own, and given her service record and commitment to this community, we'd like to nominate Lieutenant Colonel Johnson as a new member of this board." Gasps filled the room. Linda's face flushed red. In one moment, the authority she had clung to for decades was slipping from her grasp, and the woman she had tried to drive away was being elevated above her. But just as Maya began to feel the tide turning in her favor, Linda leaned across the table, her voice low but venomous. "You might have fooled them with your shiny badge and big titles," she whispered, "but trust me, this isn't over. I'll find another way." That single sentence was a warning, and it meant the battle wasn't finished, not by a long shot. Because Linda wasn't just petty, she was dangerous, and Maya was about to discover that some wars don't end when you hang up your uniform. They just change battlefields. So when the lights in that HOA meeting flickered and whispers spread about Linda's next move, one thing became crystal clear. Maya's fight had only just begun, and the question hanging in the air: how far would Linda go to destroy her? If you're really enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you never miss any of my latest uploads. Trust me, the ending of this story will leave you stunned. When we left off, Maya Johnson, a decorated military officer, had just stunned her neighbor Linda and the responding officers by revealing her military ID. For a brief moment, it seemed the nightmare was over. But in truth, that night was only the beginning of a deeper battle that would test Maya's patience, her dignity, and even her resolve to stay in the home she had worked so hard for. After the HOA meeting where Linda whispered, "This isn't over," Maya tried to focus on building her new life. She decorated her home, introduced herself warmly to neighbors, and offered to host a small block barbecue as a gesture of goodwill. Many neighbors responded positively, but not Linda. She doubled down, spreading rumors that Maya was dangerous, claiming she was paranoid from the military and not fit to live in a peaceful community. It didn't take long before Maya began noticing the harassment escalate. First, a letter slipped under her door. "You don't belong here. Leave before it gets worse." Then her trash bins mysteriously disappeared one morning, only to reappear dented and broken. But the cruelest blow came when her American flag, the same flag she had fought under, was torn down from her porch and left in shreds across her lawn. Maya stood over the torn fabric, fists trembling. For years, she had endured insults in foreign lands while protecting the freedoms of the very people who now disrespected her. And yet, here she was, under attack in her own neighborhood. But instead of breaking her, the harassment lit a fire within her. She began keeping records, photos, timestamps, every little incident. And when she discovered a small security camera hidden in the HOA's garden pointed directly at her home, she knew Linda was behind it. The question was, how to expose her without stooping to the same pettiness. The opportunity came sooner than she expected. At the next HOA meeting, Linda stormed in with a thick folder of violations she claimed Maya had committed. Grass an inch too tall, her car parked too close to the curb, and even noise complaints that mysteriously coincided with nights Maya wasn't even home. She stood tall, waving the papers like a sword. "This woman is disrupting our community," Linda declared, her voice shrill. "We need to take action before she destroys everything we've built here." Some neighbors murmured agreement, but others shifted uncomfortably. They'd seen Maya's kindness, her quiet dignity, and her attempts to fit in. Still, Linda had always been the loudest voice in the room, until now. Because Maya calmly rose to her feet, her eyes scanning the crowd. Then, without a word, she placed a small laptop on the table and pressed play. On the screen appeared crystal-clear footage from her own security cameras, Linda sneaking onto Maya's porch in the dead of night, tearing down her flag, scrawling offensive notes, even denting her trash bins with a hammer. The room went dead silent. Linda's face turned ghostly white. That's not me," she sputtered. "This is doctored, some kind of trick." But Maya wasn't finished. She calmly pulled out a second set of evidence, timestamps showing Linda's 911 calls, all of which lined up with the harassment. She had meticulously connected the dots, proving a pattern of harassment and abuse. The HOA president slammed his gavel. "Enough. Linda, this is disgraceful. Not only are you guilty of harassment, but you endangered this community by weaponizing law enforcement against an innocent neighbor." Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came. The neighbors she once commanded now glared at her with disgust. Some whispered, others shook their heads. The queen bee had been exposed as a fraud, and then came the final blow. Maya stood tall, her voice steady but firm. "I didn't move into this neighborhood to fight battles. I moved here for peace. But when someone tries to strip me of my dignity, when they tear down the very flag I served under, I cannot stay silent. Justice is not a privilege. It's right. And today I'm reclaiming mine." Her words hit like thunder. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove Linda from her position, effective immediately. But the reckoning didn't stop there. Maya handed the evidence to the police, every note, every recording, every shred of proof. Within days, Linda was served with charges, harassment, vandalism, and filing false police reports. The same officers who once responded to her 911 calls now arrived at her door with handcuffs. The irony was bitter but undeniable. Linda, who had once smirked with authority as flashing police lights humiliated her neighbor, now stood in those same lights, this time as the accused. Neighbors peered through curtains as she was escorted into the squad car. Her reign of terror ended not by force, but by the dignity of the very woman she tried to destroy. When the trial came weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Maya sat tall and composed as evidence rolled out against Linda. And when the guilty verdict was read, Linda broke down in tears, begging for leniency. But the judge's words were clear. Actions have consequences. No one is above the law, not even those who pretend to enforce it. The sentence was handed down. Community service, probation, and a permanent ban from holding any leadership position in the HOA. Her career as the queen of the neighborhood was finished. Maya, meanwhile, walked out of the courtroom to a standing ovation from her neighbors. She hadn't just defended herself, she had exposed a system of petty tyranny and reminded everyone that respect cannot be demanded through fear, only earned through fairness. And in that moment, justice wasn't just served, it was celebrated. The lesson here? Dignity doesn't crumble under attack. It shines brighter when tested, and those who misuse authority will always, eventually, fall to the truth. So let me leave you with this quick question. If you were in Maya's shoes, would you have fought back the way she did, or would you have simply moved away to avoid the drama? Comment your answer down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget, subscribe for more stories where justice finds its way, no matter how dark the road may seem.